Hiya. Welcome back to Rosa Reads, Mia and I. Today is February 21st, 2025, and I'm going to be reading Chapter 1, Mia and Aiden. Someone needs to be fired at Intel because, okay, no one told me Thea was going to be the sweet little string bean merchant gal in an apple cap. I heard she was from Carco. You know, that big, dusty desert country down south? The one known for constant sandstorms, sweltering heat, and a shady criminal underbelly? Her accent's really striking, the same way Mr. Logden's is, and he apparently lived most of his life in Bonecrisp. So there's no mistake she was born in Carco, too. A survivor of blistering heat and sand, ruled by crooks and creeps from the shadows. And she's all on her own out here, peddling wares cross-country to send back to her two siblings. That's so sweet, you know? That's gotta be so lonely, so stressful. And despite that, well-spoken, mature, handling her run-in with the demon super well, all things considered. I understand she's been around the block and through the ringer and out the other end stronger for it. We got a toughie on our hands. But I was seriously expecting someone older, someone more older. Like in their 20s at least? She's no older than we are. But I mean, that works out in a sense. Since we're close in age, relating to her should be a piece of cake. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to help Thea carry her cart back, eat dinner, and push back sleep for another 2 hours while I do some candlelight research on what girls my age actually do. Because, gods forbid, the tutors actually taught me anything useful about outsider interactions. Mia. Thea. So I've spent a grand total of 30 minutes with these two weirdos, and I have a lot of new information to report. I'm not exaggerating. You'll be interested to know it ranges in quality and spectacle, but I promise all of it is noteworthy. For the purposes of conveyance, I would prefer to tackle the news in order from neutral to good to bad, which also just so happens to be the mercantile system of selling just about anything. Start with a neutral face, butter up the client, then quickly dart through any of the flaws of your product or safety and health hazards. Though I loathe the system myself, it works pretty well and ethically for relaying information. I guess you can call this my sales pitch for Mia and Aiden. Starting with the neutral news, these two do not shut up. Ever. They are excessively loud and argumentative, the both of them, thankfully only with each other at current, and I am certain there is not a thing in this forest that does not know we exist. Now I know that sounds bad, but I assure you it balances out very well to a true neutral point. After 15 years of traveling with troops, convoys, guilds, and unions across multiple countries, and throughout every travel method and modus, you have to meet and deal with a lot of people just like them. You get used to the constant barrage of claps, hoots, and gallivanting from overly loud barkers trying to one-up you with their discount merchandise. They snaggletooth from dang near every hole in the wall in every city in a 50-kilometer radius. And after the 100th screeching declaration that this grubby shard of broken glass actually belonged to our Carcoan Duke's walking cane, a cool 20 inches from your shop, at the tired grandma you're humbly trying to sell a loaf of bread, you learn to block out that crap real fast. It's a survival tactic, as much as it's an appropriate response, come to think of it. And because of that survival tactic, I'm used to loudmouths like Mia, Louise, and Aiden Faulkner. Their shared last name, if the repeated utterance of it mid-argument is any indication, and I find some weird comfort in their noisy presence. I'd been starting to miss the excessive hullabaloo of the caravans, traveling with my much less noisy convoy. Not Cheesehead, obviously, the group before that sorry lout. You know, my head's still throbbing from that earlier experience with the demon. I'll tell you about them in greater detail later. Not Cheesehead. The other group, I mean. The one I'm struggling to... Forget it. Just know that their absence right now weighs heavy on my mind. I've endured sparse company before, but this has been a particularly long drought of consistent solitude, and the relative quiet has been more of a curse than a blessing. It's gotten to the point where I'm having trouble sleeping outside city walls, amidst the sound of crickets as opposed to midnight arguments and merrymaking. And no, It's not just from the fear of whatever lurks beyond the trees tearing into my tent, though that does keep me up on occasion, and probably will for the next 7 months now, but I digress. Genuinely, I just feel comfortable around extroverted, boisterous merchants. Their tendency to populate all hours of the day with tepid arguments, jovial banter, and dirty jokes keeps me both entertained and, in a sense, centered. There's an irregular safety that comes with passively eavesdropping on the carpet-selling couple in their 50s, having a screaming match 2 stalls down over their shared infidelity. To some, my profession is a constant game of competition. The loudest dog gets the most food, so howl away. While I don't actively participate in that obnoxious aspect, I always covet the benefit of a busy caravan. Namely, nothing wants to bother you. Wild creatures? Absolutely not. They'd rather go prowl for easier, less noisy prey. We get rodents and other critters, of course, but that's less of an occupational hazard and more of a consistent annoyance of the trade. Bandits? Oh, they know you exist, undoubtedly. But how much would you like to tussle with Mr. and Mrs. We hid extramarital affairs in these fabrics, buy in bulk. But you have broadswords and rifles? Oh, you're funny. They have them too. Both of them. All of them. Do I? I don't know. Want to try? Want to go strong-arming a bunch of pissed-off red-eyed cobblers and market stallers who got up at screw you in the morning? They don't need guns. They'll cave your skull in with hardtack wrapped in a shoe rag. I've seen stranger weapons do the job. The occasional desperate gaggle of drunk, belligerent upstarts who need their faces concaved usually get their comeuppance within minutes of poking the proverbial hive. An army of peddlers operating with a drone-like efficiency, all to protect theirs and each other's merchandise and lives. It's a terrifying sight. Outright pillaging doesn't really get them anywhere either. Just a sea of bored, thrill-seeking soldiers and bounty hunters hounding them beyond the walls, which might be even worse. Those guys actually know how to fight. Most intelligent bandits, an oxymoron, tend to just stroll up with swords and axes drawn, occasionally with guns too, pumping their chests and shouting demands civilly. If anyone notices, about a 40% chance, they either escalate to louder threats or proceed to get their butts ran out by every single nearby shopkeeper with a blunt object or projectile instrument available. I'm a rock thrower myself, outnumbering the unlucky jerks a good 10-1 on average. The worst thing that'll happen is an injury or two. Maybe someone's stall is burned or their inventory gets smashed. But that's only for the real bad bandits. The ones we don't stop chasing when they start hightailing it. Those are the jerks we actually bother reporting to the city guard. Ugh. So yeah, even if it's just these 2 loudmouths, both of whom lack a mercantile background, that I know of, the effect isn't too far off. They're certainly producing the noise of a small caravan of peddlers, through sheer grit and determination to persist my headache into the morning, but that's just it. Those 2 arguing at max volume is both a blessing and a curse. A ward from annoyance, but in itself, very annoying. True neutral. Alright, so now for the good news. We weren't hassled by anything on the way to my cart. A warm, peaceful stroll through the springtime woods was not interrupted by you-know-whats, let alone bandits, bears, wolves, or otherwise worldly or otherworldly dangers akin. So I suppose my blessings have to be counted for something. Just a wonderful serenade of preambulous arguments about month-old skeletons in these 2's bother closets that would give that adulterous carpet couple a run for their divers. My crippling anxiety and near-death jitters morphed remarkably quickly into tired indifference and languid curiosity at how these 2 hadn't killed each other yet. I was fully focused on getting to my cart in one piece, so that powered me through the worst and the loudest of it. What's more, the merchandise was left untampered by woodland critters. Several dozen divers worth of cured meats, pickled veggies, assorted nuts and spices from 2 countries over. The salt of a pantry, the sweat of a merchant gal's livelihood, left to the devices of fate and out the other end, no worse for wear. Those 2 wouldn't understand. Tackle-hugging my cart was a very reasonable reaction. My relief was too great, and my legs were incorrigible. I might have kissed the wood paneling and white canvas schooner as well. But my wits aren't what they were this morning, and I'm not ashamed, all right? Shush. To my surprise, the pair seemed rather all right with my admittedly manic display of affection. An initial dubious glance was quickly followed by a shrug from Aiden and an appreciative cart slap from Mia. To my further surprise, they managed to withhold the banter for several minutes while I carefully cataloged and tallied inventory, making doubly and triply sure that rotten cheesehead didn't make off with anything in the sly. Thankfully, all was accounted for. Color me shocked. Perhaps that coward had some integrity after all. Mia graciously offered to help me wheel the cart, which I eagerly accepted. This resulted in her rolling up her sleeves and, my goodness. I've never seen a girl our age with such huge arms before. Tempered muscle. The kind one might expect of blacksmiths and heavy day laborers. On the arms of a young teenage girl. It wasn't so easy to see while tucked in her cloak, but she made looking the cart seem effortless. Yet another surprise from these two surprising strangers. I have questions for sure, but those can wait. I'd rather get back to camp first. And thus we began the trek back. I'm admittedly not thrilled to stay in the same proximity of my near-death experience, but these two aren't worried, and that's strangely reassuring. My spirits are raised, the mood is lightened, and the two bicker bothers are peacefully conversing for once, having dried up their immediate repertoire of butthurt sibling complaints. They also refrain from prying into my personal affairs and don't ask me any introductory questions, probably out of concern for my mental fortitude, which I genuinely appreciate. There will be a time and a place for such discussions, such as after dinner, or tomorrow, my preference. But for now, peace and quiet sound absolutely heavenly. Anyway, the time has come now for the bad news. Something else happened. Turns out that shouting and bickering was doing a bang-up job attracting some unsavory folk, as I imagined it would. Once it ended, though, nothing was keeping the small pack of woodland raiders tailing us from immediately disturbing our peace. About 2 minutes into the walk post-cart retrieval, an arrow slammed hard into the cart's bonnet cover and out another side of it, adding 2 lovely holes I'll need to patch. It was a warning shot, obviously, but no less harrowing for the fact. My poor, overworked heart didn't even have enough time to compensate for the several missed beats that arrow caused, as 6 tufts and leather pelts and furs came slinking out from 3 different sections of brush. Well, shoot. Hunters turned to a life of crime? A reasonable threat, yet a tragic one for these quiet woods. Anyway, that's also where we're at right now.
Well, pretty unfortunate place to get lost, kids. Get separated from Mom and Dad.
A brute of a man, easily 1.5 feet taller than me, strides forward. The leader, no doubt, and the only one of particular merit compared to the other 5 suspiciously similar goons. Maybe they're brothers? All but one of them is a rook, but even that scar in the back with the spear manages to resemble his comrades. The leader's voice is gravelly and harsh, probably from smoking too much, or from drinking too much, or some third overindulged vice. His hair is tied into a greasy ponytail, and he has a thick wooden longbow slung over his giant right arm, making him the likely candidate who shot my cart. His footsteps seem to reverberate like thunderclaps, despite stomping on dirt and dry grass. His sneer is completely typical, and I'd have eagerly called him 17 different daggered expletives from behind the safety of a market stall with guards posted. But out here in the woods with 2 strangers? Not advised. Not while outnumbered. That's the one thing you never want to be. Versus anything, preferably, but especially versus humans. 3 idiots with lit torches can scare an entire wolf pack away if they stand back to back, shout loudly, and wave fire all around. The same 3 idiots get stripped clean by 4 bandits with an ounce of sense, and here we have the dreaded 2-to-1 odds. 6 on 3, which might as well be 6 on 2 if these 2 have any ability to defend themselves, both at a size disadvantage, though Mia is, funnily enough, taller than the Scar and 2 of the Rooks. and more pressingly, an age disadvantage. I'm always good at throwing rocks, insults, and words of encouragement, but that's about the extent of my capabilities in combat. All right, how about the other two? Well, I know Mia has big arms, but I don't see any weapons on her. And hey, Aiden has a wooden pole that heals you. Awesome. Maybe he can fix an ingrown toenail or alleviate some itchy tick bites before his cool magic staff gets converted into some woodland thug's walking stick. So yeah, step 1, pose no threat. They got us. Time to throw up our arms and beg. Look, we don't want any, I begin to say before Mia directs her left hand and pointer finger straight up at the guy talking, affecting an unbothered smile as she speaks. Okay, so you creeps have been eating dirt and bushwhacking for the better part of 20 minutes. Is this a robbery? She declares, slamming my cart down. Because if it is, please go bother someone else, alright? We're kinda busy. I have about 7 volatile emotions fighting and scraping for predominant control in my brain. Mia's trying to send us to an early grave, so I just take it upon myself to grapple her limbs and furiously whack her shoulder until she stops speaking. She looks at me with something between bewilderment and concern, which is rich coming from the girl that restrained me less than an hour ago, but I digress. Damage control, stop the arrogant girl with a death wish from saying anything worse. Ow, hey, what? She starts, but I cut her off with a palm to her mouth. She's joking! Sorry, so sorry, please. She's sitting down and putting her hands up, see? We all are, right, Aiden? I try to drag the much taller girl down to the ground with little success. Did I mention she's like a foot taller than me? I also glare at Aiden, who returns an inquisitive look suspiciously similar to Mia's, trading her cheeky grin for a cheek-biting frown. I swear these two.
You've got a smart mouth, huh?
Says the scowling leader bandit, somehow completely ignoring my reasonable de-escalation tactic in favor of being irate.
Just 'cause you brats are kids don't mean we're gonna accept any lip. Got it?
Aiden, bless his heart, does seem to finally recognize my intent and the bandit's intensifying threat. He sets down his staff on the ground. Ah, thank you, yes! And now he's shifting his cloak to reveal a sword. No, a dagger, which he's retrieving. He's...
Hard enough. Desist. Go somewhere else. You're bothering Thea.
He says, affecting a bored, disinterested tone that would suggest we have 80 times the manpower and absolutely nothing to lose by kicking the proverbial beehive. He's drawing circles in the air with the dagger, swinging it lazily at each of the stunned, confused bandits, and I want to punt this guy into the next continent!
Mia, quit screwing around to draw your sword already.
That does it. A call-out. Aiden's passive insinuation causes Mia to wrench my hands from her mouth and shout, very affronted, "Okay, bud. Sure, let me get on with that. Look, Thea's clearly scared, all right? I just need to calm her down first, and then we can... I don't know. Hey, seriously, what did you lugs want? That's Thea stuff. You aren't getting anything. Pound sand." They're both completing a revolution around the planet in the next 10 seconds. Back-talking. Telling the 6 very large men with axes, bows, and other hunting gear to pound sand. I could backdrop that demon at this rate. I'm so angry. How again can they both insisting on doing the stupidest course of action twice in a row? First dragging me out of the bush. Okay, that worked out somehow. But come on! Mia gently peels me fully off, smiles an inexplicably calm smile at me, and steps up next to Aiden. I just collapse on the spot and hug my cart. What morons. What absolute ineffable louts. He might have been the most obnoxious man I've ever traveled with, but not even Cheesehead was this suicidal. The bandits look nonplussed by the pair's bravado, and there is soupy black hatred in their leader's eyes. The likely initial desire to strip the cart bare and leave us tied to a stump or something for the next saps to find seems like a faraway dream, and has since evolved into an infuriated, self-convincing epiphany. Why, yes, I can kill 3 teenagers, and I have the sharp, pointy weapons necessary to do so. Almost in unison, 6 burly creeps with an unfortunately understandable lack of enthusiasm with being told by a pubescent teenage girl to pound sand ready their weapons at the duo. Axes, mostly. 1 spear, 1 bow, and 1 particular freak with what appears to be rusty hedge clippers. Original? Maybe if I'm lucky, I can be the star of a cool morality tale for this guy's bandit grandchildren. And yet again, I find morbid humor in this dire situation. Something must be wrong with me. I should go speak with someone after this. You know, if lightning just so happens to strike and kill all 6 of them within the next 10 seconds. Then again, divine intervention's what gave me and Aiden in the first place, and they're the whole reason we're about to be killed here, so give and take? The law of equivalent exchange with a wacky delay timer?
Okay, never mind. Just shut them up already,
says the bandit leader, no longer hiding his menace and intent with fake allusions to a wayward stroll from our parents. He tosses his bow away, only to reveal his own scabbard, complete with a jewel-encrusted sword. There's no doubt he pilfered the beautiful saber from a wealthy victim passing through these woods. He waggles it around tauntingly before slamming it into the ground in front of him, plunging it several inches into the dirt. More intimidation, this time declarative. There's a good chance he won't even lift a finger to help while his 5 near-identical goons in pelts do his dirty work. The other men with axes advance and flank their boss, while the one archer keeps his bow, knocking an arrow. He seems to be preparing for one of us to run, and I don't love the idea of testing his aim. It's clear out, not a cloud in sight, with an azure hue streaking along the sky. No divine lightning, in other words. How long before someone starts charging and all havoc breaks loose? How many swings will it take before Aiden's puny dagger gets knocked away and the 2 overconfident fools get killed right in front of me? How long until I'm next? It seems that no one has anything more to say, and even the birds and local insects have stopped chirping. I'm being ignored, but that won't last forever. And then I look over, realizing I'm just flat out wrong. The archer's arrow is knocked towards me, glaring at me, daring me to try anything. He knows I'm the sane one that'd cut and run, and has me marked for death. But I don't try to run. I just watch. This isn't as haunting as the demon, but the danger is no less real. It's a dreadful thing, being culled by humans. Being made to feel like prey from your fellow men. Forced to watch as 2 of your kind get butchered like cattle. I want to scream. I held back with the demon, but here? What difference would it make in the end? I turned to the bravely stupid pair and tried once more in vain to get them to sit down and show hands. One final, pitiable urge for mercy. One that probably won't work to pacify the indignant raiders, but I have to try. I just have to. I'm distracted from that urge, though, when Mia's hand shoots forward, clasp, and begin to glow an emerald green hue. Wait, what? Form! Bolt Claymore! Mia's sudden exclamation is immediately followed by a whirring crackle not dissimilar to thunder. Wait, thunder? Then her hands part. Her right expels a wave of viridescent energy, and her left retrieves a pommel, then a blade, then more, until her whole body jerks backward, swinging a massive, entirely verdant sword overhead, slamming it blade-tip down into the ground just as the other guy did, though hers sends actual visible shockwaves of green lightning out and through the tree line, and well into the distance. They boom, crash, and clatter, scattering an entire glade's worth of animals, a flurry of noise, a cacophony of raw, unleashed power. And I'm just left to process that. We all are. Because the advancing stops immediately. Nothing but a gust of wind answers the lightning's peal, save for rustling cloaks. And the girl there, sleeves still rolled, her auburn curls shaking in the breeze. The 6 men gawk in perfect unison, in the delayed process of stumbling and falling backward, all eyes locked on the ephemeral object in Mia's hands, crackling, shooting off sparks like a lit bonfire. It strikes a match within my brain. Their foolish bravado, once meritless, now seems entirely justified. It's a magic sword. But no, it's not. It's literal mana formed into a sword. A very big one. She said claymore, right? Who cares? It came from thin air. Both. They can both use magic, and I'm a monkey's aunt. One's a healer, the other's a battle mage, and she's just pulled out a weapon that puts the woodcutter's hatchets to shame. A blade of pure electricity. She's holding it in her bare hands, and here I am suddenly forming a whole new theory on how that demon disappeared based on being flanked by 2 mages. I still like my initial theory that Aiden magicked it away, of course, but I'm perfectly okay being wrong if it means it was slain and butchered by Mia's cool lightning sword thing. Maybe I missed the giant pile of ashes left behind from when she vaporized it. Delma's fist, what the... One of the 5 identical creeps pipes up, his hands warily held in deference. He's trembling, the poor sod. Some of his friends mumble in kind, alluding to several gods that definitely do not condone barbarity, so the irony is utterly delicious. Others just cuss and fumble their words, trying to stand in limp defiance of their obvious fear and confusion. The archer's bow actually discharged its arrow in the sudden commotion of Mia's spellcasting, though it shot far off into the tree line as he tumbled, smacking through leaves and branches without falling back down. As for their leader, he's lost for words. Mia's all but copied his stance, but the difference is laughable to the point of blatant mockery. That gaudy sword looks wholly unimpressive by comparison. Mia's would slice the thing in 2, and he knows it. And her crap-eating grin could provoke a boulder to roll sideways. But the fight's just been snuffed out of our bandit friends. Then, in an overly gravelly and harsh voice, she addresses them. Well, pretty unfortunate place to get lost, guys. Offer to Pound Sand still open if you want it. An expert facsimile of the leader's voice. Time resumes, and the lot clamber to their feet in a heap of flailing limbs in panic-stricken absurdity. Leave the weapons, please, Aiden says. You don't need them. Not one of them responds to that. They all just do as they're told in hasty silence, discarding their weapons across the dirt and grass. And they had a lot more weapons, too. Daggers, boomerangs, 2 sticks attached with a chain. I think those are nunchucks? These morons were prepared for war, and all it took was one girl with an ultra-green stick of raw mana to soil their pants and get these sods running for the hills. Because, like it or not, magic is magic. It's a realm of legend and seclusion, locked to kingdom royals and old tomes and grand libraries beyond the common masses. Folklore and stories describe its many applications throughout wars and ancient history, but there are rumors of a more modern variety. Rumors of powerful battle mages and healers even today, and summoners, and witches and wizards and warlocks across Gin Sable, living either as hermits, as coveted castle affixes, or simply as commoners with secretive pasts. They hide their talents until necessary. But listen to me waffle about. I speak as if I have any authority or accurate knowledge, but it's all meaningless guesswork. I've traveled more than most my age and never encountered a single mage. Parlor tricksters and stage-performed sleight of hand, sure, but 2 of the genuine article. On the same day! 2 irrefutable, unmistakable mages. You don't pick a fight with 2 mages, young or not, outnumbered or not. They don't even know Aiden's a mage, but one's more than scary and inexplicable enough. You just have to cut your losses and run like mad if you value your life. Speaking of, their leader's already begun a rather impressive death sprint, which finally ignites an outcry from the 5 brothers. They holler and carry on with further expletives directed at their feckless leader, pounding the dirt with careless footfalls, chasing after him as they vanish out of sight. They might try this nonsense again, sure, but losing every weapon they owned was a heavy blow. They'll at least be out of commission for a while, and maybe this run-in will inspire a career change. One can hope. I find myself alone with the magical pair once again. Mia breaks the silence. Hey, I'm not crazy, right? That guy definitely pulled those nunchucks out of his...
Yes, he did.
Alright, good. Gross. I'm not touching those. Well, now that that's over with, my heart just needs to catch up with my brain. The bandits fled. I'm alive. Those 2 are alive, and I'm currently in the company of 2 mages. 2. The night is not quite here yet. I escaped death not once but twice today, and I'm in the company of 2 mages. 2. I'm slowly losing my grasp on the cart because I'm having some slight numbness in my fingers as I try to rationalize the existence of 2 mages in my immediate proximity. 2.
You all right, Thea?
Aiden asks, suddenly at my side. When did he get there? He extends a hand down to me, which I take with a shaky grip. Standing proves a bit much at the moment, but I can at least lean against my cart for stability. Okay, I don't. How did you do that? I ask, pointing a very accusatory finger at me and her electric claymore. That was incredible. That is incredible, and I know you know that. What the... Words fail me as well. I'm at least doing a better job than the bandits, though. She sticks out her tongue and snaps her fingers. Just as quickly as the sword appeared, it disintegrates, crumbling from both sides until it pops and fizzles in the center. Ooh, we can talk about all the gory details after dinner, yeah? I'm starving.
I'd rather wait after dinner as well,
Aiden says, sheathing his dagger. He steps away from me and, with a hand wave, the staff snaps up to his hand from the ground. The shock of yet another spell manages to jolt me, and I knew he was a mage already. He didn't even say a word that time. What the heck? He doesn't acknowledge my stupor and just continues speaking.
We've got a lot of things to discuss moving forward. For now, we'll provide protection. Anything that tries to harm you, leave it to us, all right?
That wasn't just for show either, says Mia, assuming her earlier hands behind head position. I was ready to slug those jerks for scaring you. Slug them. With an electric sword. It's an absurd verb to use, one which finally broaches a bout of nervous, half-crazed laughter. How would it even work? What would a sword like that do to a person, apart from chop them in half? Would it burn them? Fry and boil their skin, maybe? Just thinking about it sends a cold chill down my spine, so I reflexively laugh. I can't help it. Eventually, I just slam my head into the tarp of my cart and let out a tired, anxious wail. An expulsion of nerves and a painful reminder that my head's still throbbing and magic spells are real and nothing makes sense anymore. I feel a gentle hand on my left shoulder, then my right. I turn to find the pair beside me, sharing a nervous look. Thea? You okay? You keep asking me that, Mia, I say. I don't know what you want me to say here. She finally lets her smile droop, and she nods. Just making sure. I know magic's not super common anymore, so... But again, we can talk about that later. She gently cups my hands and squeezes them. I didn't scare you, did I? You were the one scaring the bandit away, I remind her. I should be thanking you. So, thank you. For this, and again for earlier with that beast. I try to keep my voice level, but it's cracking now. I know I should be thankful. I know I should be kissing the ground these 2 walk on. but the sheer absurdity of them perplexes me so completely. I'm at a loss. I don't know how to feel.
Demon,
Aiden corrects.
she was a demon.
That, funnily enough, does help. I now know how to feel, and even if it's foolish, I'm going to shout a little. So I didn't just mishear you then, I say, my voice rising. You called it a she. She was a girl demon, yes, says Mia. Again, that's a whole thing we need to discuss with you, but that can... Who the hell are you two? I finally ask, feeling the frustration bubble over. I'm thankful, but this is insane. This cannot wait until after dinner. We're talking now. I don't know how you magicked away the demon or whatever. Or perhaps I do. I don't know. Where did that thing come from? Where did you come from? What? And at once, it no longer feels like the proper emotion. Neither reacts with indignity as they had with each other earlier. Instead, they allow my tirade to peter out, uninterrupted, and make no fuss. Shouting just seems juvenile in the face of their quiet tolerance. Realizing I'm done, Mia's hands squeeze tighter, and she breathes a long sigh. I'm sorry, Thea. Okay. We can talk, all right? We're setting up right here. Any qualms?
Nope. I marked the tent, he says. I'm sorry as well, Thea. You're right. We shouldn't keep you in the dark any longer. Can we at least talk while I make dinner?
Despite everything? That is the most ridiculous thing either of them have said. My anger resurfaces. Absolutely not, I snarl, stamping my foot. You've both saved my life twice in the past hour. Pull up a log, sit down, and start talking. I'm making dinner. They broach no complaint. Okay, that's been chapter 1. I read this quite a bit later than the previous one. I think that was a mistake. I'm going to try to record these a little bit earlier so my throat is a little bit nicer for them. Also, it dawns on me I'm going to be going through some voice training, so, if a couple chapters from now my voice sounds very different, that's why. But I'll probably make special note of it then and there. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a good one, and I'll see you for the next chapter.